Every 10 years, a census is taken covering every road and every house in Britain, and the individuals that make up their occupants. Each name recorded, forming each home or residence, is heaving with a wealth of knowledge and experiences that contribute to British history. However, many of the names collected connect to homes and families beyond the British shores through those who have migrated to Britain. Many entrepreneurial minds have brought innovation, industry, and crucial skill sets. Yet many successful entrepreneurial women and their lives have been hidden. Their records and achievements were often attributed under the name of husbands, fathers, brothers, or family names. Equally obscured was their ethnicity, which the census did not record until 1991. So therefore, in the 1911 census, the presence of many black and Asian Londoners is not immediately visible.
This program will focus on the lives of 4 women: African-American professional performer Laura Bauman Hampton, Swedish osteopath Mary Anna Ellison, Italian businesswoman Rosa Corazza, and the New Zealand-born author Katarina Mansfield. Each of these women lived in London's Bloomsbury area, and their lives represent a small selection of the untold Herstories that lay within the sheets of the 1911 census. Each of their lives connects with that of the many women who ran their own businesses but remained faceless despite serving important roles servicing the needs of the people in their communities.
London was the largest city in the world at the time of the 1911 census, with a population of over 7 million by 1911. London was at the centre of the British Empire and attracted people from all over the world. At the time of the census, over 3,000 women born outside of Britain are recorded as running their own business. The women in this project reflect London's colonial geohistories. They include the black descendants of those enslaved through the Atlantic slave trade. Many of the women born in British colonies were the daughters of British Army officers, missionaries, or merchants involved in the colonial project. Because of the wealth and economic power London accumulated through its position in the British Empire, London also attracted many European migrants. The immigrant population contributed to the British economy, providing goods, services, and employment. Many ran small businesses in areas of the economy such as dressmaking or food preparation and retail. Foreign-born businesswomen stood out for their activity in the creative industries.
Our first entrepreneur, Laura Bauman Hampton, lived in London's Bloomsbury area at 13 Percy Street. Laura is listed as a music hall artist from Illinois and wife to Pete George Hampton.
My sister. Oh, John, this is awful. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine such a thing.
She is in the census as Laura Hampton and is recorded as married. According to other sources, it was a common law marriage. Laura Bowman and Pete Hampton came to Britain as part of the first all-black musical theatre production called In Dahomey, written for New York's Broadway.
This is the cakewalk dance scene taken from the production. The production was an important turning point for the presentation of black people in the music hall scene. Bauman was an artist of some caliber. She and her husband performed for the Prince of Wales's birthday at Buckingham Palace. Laura was born in Quincy, Illinois in 1881. She married and separated from Henry Ward Bauman by 1903. She partnered up with comedian Pete Hampton, who became her second husband. They toured all over Europe, billed as the Darktown Entertainers.
Creative enterprises also offer a significant forum for self-expression and resistance in the context of marginalization. And so it is often in these industries that women are able to really find an enriching life path. And this was indeed the case for Bauman Hampton, who had a vibrant career and achieved significant recognition in Britain and the US. Edwardian London was not without conflict, characterized principally by the burgeoning women's suffrage movement. Protests and demonstrations intensified during these years, reaching a peak between 1912 and 1914 as the movement materialized. While it is often shown that many women entrepreneurs were single or widowed, neither marriage nor motherhood was an insurmountable obstacle to women's involvement in business, whether on their own or as a joint partner with their spouse or others.
Our second entrepreneur, living near to Great Portland Street, Mary Anna Ellison, is entered in the census as a 50-year-old osteopath from Sweden, living at 57 Albany Street, Regent's Park. She describes herself as a protesting suffragist and lived in a household with several women who all described themselves as suffragists, as did several of their neighbors. Living in England by 1871, the house she lived in as an adult no longer exists, but is now part of the Royal College of Physicians of London. Prior to becoming a suffragette, Mary attended Oxford University at St. Hugh's College as one of the first women at Oxford in 1888. After Oxford, she worked as a teacher and governess for a family in Birkenhead.
Teaching was one professional space women could legitimately occupy in the form of governess. However, Mary Ellison's experience of education was very unusual for women at the time, with most universities not permitting women fully until the mid-20th century.
Ellison wrote a manual for students of massage in 1898. It has an overview of the bones, muscles, and other anatomy, as well as practical massage chapters, including diets.
Unlike medical doctors, alternative practitioners could advertise and thereby attract private clients. Ellison's book places the practice of massage in Indian, Hawaiian, and Chinese traditions, as well as the Hippocratic tradition, and mentions her influences as Swedish and German massage, as well as American osteopathy methods. In Sweden, physiotherapy was initially a male-dominated field, but by the mid-19th century, women were training in it, and by the 1870s, women outnumbered men.
Laura Bauman Hampton could have used the services of Ellison as a performer. Ellison would most certainly have known and been in touch with the two Swedish alternative medical practitioners, Hilda Olsen and Amelia Johansson. She might have worked with them as colleagues.
Britain experienced growth and prosperity between Queen Victoria's death in 1901 and the start of the First World War in 1914.
In the case of Rosa Carrazzo, our next entrepreneur, it is her father, Carlo Gatti's achievements and images that are recorded.
Rosa Carrazzo was a music hall owner, an ice cream entrepreneur and company director. Born Rosa Gatti, she came from Switzerland to London as a widowed mother of small children to join her father Carlo Gatti's ice cream, cafe and music hall business. Although during the 1911 census Rosa was in Italy, she nevertheless is listed in 1911 Directory of Directors as a director of the United Carlo Gatti, Stevenson and Slaters Limited. Rosa had married fellow Swiss Giovanni Carrazza and inherited 1/3 of her father's ice cream business.
It is Giovanna's rather than Rosa's name that appears on the posters advertising events at the Gatti Music Halls. This highlights the fact that at the time, most women were financially and socially tied to their husbands. Rosa, as a woman of means and a music hall owner, would most certainly have been aware of Laura Bauman Hampton, and might even have known her personally, perhaps having booked her to perform at one or more of the Gatti music halls. Over 3/4 of businesswomen work from home, such as dressmakers, lodging housekeepers, and laundresses. Most were mainly self-made entrepreneurs.
Bauman Hampton exemplifies the precariousness of immigrant life. She and her husband had been pretty settled in London. However, they were made to leave Britain in 1913 at the start of the war. Returning back to America, Pete Hampton sadly died in 1916. Laura Bauman Hampton continued to develop an extraordinary career in film, acting alongside the likes of Sidney Poitier and Ossie Davis. She performed well into her twilight years, finding love and remarrying in later life. She died as Mrs. Leroy Antoine at age 76.
Many of the long-established migrant communities in London are obscured in census data.
Census data underestimates the size of migrant communities as it only identifies first-generation migrants. British subjects born elsewhere who moved to England and Wales appear as immigrants. This would have included local figures such as Australian-born Margaret Thomas or our next entrepreneur, New Zealand-born Katharina Mansfield, who lived at 69 Cloverley Mansions at the top of Gray's Inn Road.
Mansfield, listed in the census as Katharina, was born as Kathleen and published as Catherine. She is an example of a more privileged migrant born in New Zealand to a prominent family. Residing primarily between Britain, Belgium and Germany, Mansfield travelled Europe extensively up until 1906. Catherine Mansfield is definitely the most well-known migrant entrepreneur in this project and has a stamp bearing her image in New Zealand. Being of the class of London's intelligentsia, Mansfield found herself at home in Bloomsbury, surrounded by other significant literary figures and a thriving intellectual scene. She was closely associated with the Bloomsbury literary group and acquired fame through her reinvention of the modern short story.
Her writing career really took off on her return to London in January 1910. Mansfield had a number of romantic relationships with both men and women. 2 of her same-sex relationships were noted in her personal journal.
Mansfield's short stories are often examined for their references and portrayals of love and friendship amongst women, thus providing a window into queer sexualities of the early 20th century.
Many women's Herstories have never been told, both because they are rendered invisible on account of patriarchal historical documentation practices and other kinds of historical omission. Catherine Mansfield, Rosa Corazzo, Mary Ann Ellison, and Laura Bowman Hampton are giving voice to women's experiences in her stories. This enables us to engage with a much richer and more inclusive picture of British history.